Hi, I'm Michael Lund. If you are watching the short video I've made for you, it's because you are interested in finding some answers to common questions about short sales. And I hope that you have those answers when we're done here. A short sale is when a property cannot be sold for enough money to pay off all the parties that think they're owed something when it's sold. It's available when when the homeowner has come across a hardship in life and has been so far honest and forthright with their creditors. It may be interesting to note that not all countries in the world have this opportunity. It's something that's available in the United States at least, but I know for a fact it's not available everywhere. Um, Short sale is basically a form of debt forgiveness. It's a big deal. I mean, I have seen people get more than $100,000, six figures of loan forgiveness in a short sale. So it is a very significant thing in that regard. Um, Short sales were more common after the 2008 financial crisis. For a number of years, it was very common that people were up against situations where they couldn't sell their house for enough money to pay off all their loans. Uh, for the last 15 years or so, it's been less common. And it's not as common now to find a real estate agent or a real estate professional who knows what to do in a situation like this. So if you know one, that is very valuable. Um, what has made them more common in recent years has been the COVID pandemic. A lot of people got behind as a result of the pandemic. There's also been crazy inflation where they've seen that their expenses have gone up month by month or year by year, and they just can't keep up anymore. Um, Other hardships can include sickness, can include divorce, a forced move, it can be unemployment. It can simply be that the cost of keeping the house is no longer possible. So these are all hardships that can contribute to a situation where a lender would consider somebody for a short sale. Uh, when they when they process the short sale, they're basically looking at, can this person catch up this loan and keep it caught up? If the answer to that is no, then they realize that they can't squeeze blood out of a turnip, and they have to make a business decision as to whether or not they want to just let it go. So that's an important thing to realize about a short sale. It's not an act of charity on the part of the lender. It's really a business decision. You know, they just are going to wash their hands of it and move on. Okay. Um, for the borrower, the important thing to remember, there are three real benefits there. So one is the loan forgiveness, which is huge. Normally, if there's not a hardship, the lender will just say, so you don't have enough money to pay all your debts? That's fine. So at closing, we'd like you to write us a big check for what's left over, for what you're short. A lot of people are not able to do that. Um, I have actually been in that situation myself before. It's very painful, and it's really a blessing if you don't have to do that. Okay. Uh, it is also a much softer landing for somebody's credit than a foreclosure, which is a common outcome for this kind of thing. If someone is not able to make their payments for a long enough period of time, the bank will come and take the house back. That is a disaster for somebody's credit, and it makes it very difficult to make credit purchases for many years to come. So a short sale basically shows that you, the borrower, are taking initiative and that you are trying to work something out. And that reflects more favorably on you when you do that. The other important thing about a short sale is that it buys some time. There's the adage, there's nothing short about a short sale. It takes longer to sell your house in a short sale, typically, than in a normal house sale. And many people find that period of time useful so that they can prepare for the next stage, for their next living arrangements. So if any of these things are useful to you, we can talk about the timelines. The a short sale will typically take months to pull off, and so sometimes folks ask me if I do a short sale, will I have to move out, by the end of this month? No, that is not the way it works. In fact, someone who works with lenders frequently, the long pole often is the lenders. They Some of them are more efficient than others. Some of them just take forever. So it varies from lender to lender, and we will definitely be in contact with you throughout the entire process. We want this to be easy for you, and we want you to feel good and feel informed about what's going on. One thing we do ask up front is that you don't just disappear. So the situation that causes someone to go into a short sale can be sometimes very frustrating, very stressful. And sometimes people that we engage with, they just decide partway through that they're going to uh, jump ship, and they stop talking to us or whatever. I don't know what happens. Something that is important to explain at the beginning is that we will actually be spending a lot of time and money working for you, and we are not compensated until the end of the process. So if someone starts down this process and then uh, steps out partway through, that actually creates a bit of a problem for us. And so all we ask, we want to make it as easy and be as encouraging as we can throughout the process. But we just need you when the time comes for you to sign something or to look for some documents, that you be available. Okay, and that's basically all we're asking for. So let's talk about that process. What exactly happens during a short sale? So the way that I explain it is when you apply for loans, the lenders ask for some documentation to prove that you are qualified for that loan. They will ask you for your income. They will ask you for tax returns. They will ask you for bank statements, and they will ask you for an application. And then they send it through their underwriting process. And if you're approved, they will send an appraiser out there to make sure that the amount of money that they're lending for you is suitable for the size property that you're talking about. And then if they approve, then you get the loan. With a short sale, it is the opposite of that. They ask you for all the same information, very similar documentation, but they're trying to prove that you cannot keep this loan. They're trying to show that you are either not able to catch it up, or that you're not able to keep it caught up. Okay. So that is something that's important to know. Uh, Something that is often brought, a question that comes to me is, do I need to stop making mortgage payments in order to do a short sale? So I will tell you, in the case of FHA, the final payment needs to be behind by only a little more than 30 days in order for it to be approved. For a VA loan, you do not have to be behind. Um, Different lenders may have different criteria. Um, I will not tell someone that they should um, stop making their mortgage payments. Frequently, people who come to me have already been in a predicament where they've been unable to make their mortgage payments. Okay, so this is nothing new to them. Uh, it's a reality they've been dealing with for a long time, and they're just looking for answers. Okay, but I just want to make sure that that is understood up front. Okay, so the documents I'll be asking for typically will be Proof of income. So, for example, your last two pay stubs. Um, if you're self-employed, they will need to have some evidence of that. If you're on Social Security, they will need that evidence. They will need 2 years of tax returns. If someone has not paid their taxes, we can have you sign an affidavit that you have simply not filed a tax return, or you can go online, and this is useful if you can't find your tax returns. You can just go online to the IRS website and you can download your own transcript. Okay, and so that's fairly easy to do. Uh, the lenders will ask for documents that include your social security number. So your lender typically already has that information. They need it on their application so they can process the short sale and so that they can link the two together. They will need to know your loan number and other information that will connect your account to your application. Okay. They will also need 2 months worth of bank statements. This is for all accounts owned by anyone who's on the loan. Uh, Not everyone, sometimes, who is the owner of the house is the same person who's on the loan. Sometimes the people who are on the loan are different than the names of the people who own the house. What they want to see is who is actually on the loan. Okay. So that's the documentation they will need. They also have some forms that they will need to be filled out. There's what they call the mortgage assistance application. It's the same form that they use for a loan modification or forbearance in many cases. Uh, every lender, every loan servicer has their own form that is used for that. Sometimes there's a generic form they will accept. Usually they will have their own form that they'll want someone to fill out. So we can do that for you. We can fill it out, make it look very professional, and then we can track that throughout the entire process. We will be the ones who will get on the phone for hours at a time waiting for their annoying customer service to look up details and see how things are coming along. Many people find that useful so that you don't have to do that very often in the middle of your workday. Sometimes they do require it, but we try to keep that to a minimum. Um, we monitor that process. We talk to them. We help negotiate with them. Okay. You will need, in addition to all of these forms, you will need a listing agreement with a real estate agent. That might be me. It might be a real estate agent you're already working with. But your lender will need to see that you have a listing agreement. That is a contract that means that this person can represent you in selling your property. Uh, Often, but not always, uh, the lender will also require that your house be marketed on the internet. So that's just something to bear in mind as well. Um, Once the process gets to a certain point, an appraiser will go out to the property and see how much the property is worth. Okay, so they look at the condition of the property, they look at other homes in the area, and they try to figure out how much is this home really worth. Okay, so the lender will decide how much money they're willing to accept based on how much the house is worth. Okay, and so uh, it's important that this appraisal be fair and honest and truthful. But to be honest, it's better for you if it's as low as possible because it's easier to sell your house if it's lower. Okay, you definitely don't want it to be overpriced because then it will be difficult to find a buyer for your house. If you can't find a buyer for your house within a reasonable period of time, then the short sale process will close and it will either have to be reopened or the house will go on to other options, including foreclosure. Okay, so it's important to find an offer in a reasonable period of time. The lender needs to approve this offer once it's received. So normally when you sell a house, um, You look at the offer, you like it, you get it. Okay. In a short sale, you need to sign off on it, but the lender is the one who actually decides whether or not your loan will terminate effectively with this. Okay. And if it does, then you can move out from under that loan and from other liens against your property. We need to talk to everybody who thinks you owe them something when your house is sold. Okay, so we'll be working with the title company to make sure that all of those hands that are held out, that we work something out with them so that they will let you go. So once this process is done at the end of the year and at the beginning of the next year, you will receive what's called a 1099-C, which shows that you were forgiven a certain amount of money as part of this loan. Since the great financial crisis, this is 2025, there have been exemptions every year so that taxpayers do not have to pay taxes on the amount of money that was forgiven to them. Okay. Um, we hope that that continues. It would be very difficult for someone if you're already behind and then someone were able to come back and ask you for more taxes for money that you didn't have anyway. Okay. This would be true for anything, whether it's a foreclosure or a deed in lieu of foreclosure, anything where the property leaves, transfers from you and your loan has not been paid off. So we hope that this legislation is continued so that people who are in difficult situations uh, can really have the benefits of full loan forgiveness. So in this presentation, I have tried to give you what many people want to know. One other thing that you may want to know is who pays for this? Because in a short sales situation, often you don't have money to pay someone. The answer to that is simple. In a short sale, you are not allowed to pay someone at closing or receive money at closing because the lender will want to see any excess funds that might be available to be redirected to them because they're taking a loss. What happens in a short sale is they have it in their budget already to pay a real estate agent. Okay, so that's not something you have to worry about. It's just part of the process. So what I hope you get out of this process is uh, some peace of mind. It is vexing uh, to get into the process. Hopefully, you feel some support through it. As we need to, we will talk to you about what the lender is communicating to us, even if even if there's nothing really to say in a given week. We will email you or communicate with you somehow and tell you we continue to monitor the situation. There's really nothing to report. We just want to make sure that you know that we are watching the situation. Um, and if a house is quote unquote underwater or upside down, as we sometimes say, a short sale is the only real way to sell the house. Um, Sometimes people approach me and say, my phone is ringing off the hook because all these people want to buy my house. Well, that's great. That's great that they want to buy your house. They should make you an offer, but you still have to do a short sale. Okay. And so you still have to go through this process. And sometimes they don't know that. And sometimes if they do know it, they're not as interested anymore. Okay. So if that does happen to you, please communicate with us. So, yeah, so that's most of what normally needs to be covered before we start the short sale process. I hope this is useful to you. We're happy to answer any other questions you might have. So please reach out. Again, my name is Michael Lund. My company is Real Estate Surgeon, and I look forward to meeting you in person. Thank you for watching.